Okay, so I made this video once. I don't know what happened to it, but anyway, I was getting ready to upload it and discovered it's easier to just, I guess, record it while I'm doing this, or while I'm on YouTube. But anyway, today I have a Polaris Sportsman 500, and the VIN is on the frame, but I'm not sure what year it is. It's a little difficult to read, and the other tags are gone. I suspect it's 2001, but anyway, the customer complaint is they had a couple wires out here dangling, and somebody had rigged that up for them. They were starting this four-wheeler that way when it decided to just click. So they brought it, and she said, I don't know. She said it was working fine. It finally quit. I think it's a starter. Well, on this side here, on the right side of the vehicle, your recoil start goes here, and so the recoil start was hanging half out. You couldn't pull it. It was like it was locked up. So the first thing I did was get that out of the way. And the water, you can see the water line running right through here. So basically this was turned. The water pretty much was up to these top tangs here. And so I pulled that out, and this was locked up. So I went ahead and pulled the flywheel off. I just used a snap-on steering wheel puller, put it in these three holes, and then your center comes in, hits the crank, and pulls that right off. Well, that was a work of art getting off, because of all the water that sat in here. It had actually rusted the flywheel to the stator, the piece inside there. But I was able to get it off. I got that off, and I was going to replace the stator while I was there, but not for another $100. This is an older four-wheeler, and I don't know how much work she's actually going to need. I've never heard the thing run. So with that being said, I took a screwdriver and knocked off some of the heavy rust off the stator, and then I took some emery cloth and cleaned it out real good. Did the same with the inside of the flywheel. Emery cloth did up real good, and got two real nice surfaces, blew it all out, cleaned it with brake clean. I don't use that stuff sparingly. I'm pretty liberal with it. So anyways, I got it, for the most part, it's cleaned up. It looks a hell of a lot better than it did. The crank actually turns now. So anyway, the video is to how to shortcut the starter. Well, the starter driven gear, this is your driven gear, and then your starter actually comes through. I didn't take the linkage out of the way this time, but your starter comes from the back side, comes through this hole. I don't know if you can see it right there. And then when you engage the starter, it turns this driven gear, in turn kicks this out, similar to kicks this driven gear out, not out of the darn bushing. You can see it there though. As it spins, the centrifugal force will force this thing out to engage with the flywheel, in turn start the engine. So the starter actually cogs those, and then your driven gear here pops out and cogs to the flywheel. All right, but so I got all that freed up, pulled driven gear out. Now what we're doing today is shortcutting. I'm showing you the shortcut that I took, because I've got all kinds of pullers, but I don't have any kind of jaw pullers big enough to remove this torque converter assembly or primary clutch, whatever they want to call it on this model. So I pulled this bolt out. This thing did not want to budge with what I had to pry on, and I didn't want to, you don't want to break it or crack it anywhere in here where your belt rides. You don't want to crack it anywhere, but especially where your belt rides. So what I did is I took a small hole saw. Now in here's where your starter sits, and it bolts to right there. It's only got two bolts. That's one of them, and right there's the other one. And then, of course, this is the back side of that hole I showed you a minute ago. There's the back side of this starter drive. So what I did, instead of pulling this torque converter assembly off and the belt off in order to get this inner plastic cover off, is, and I hope you can see it, but I took a hole saw and with a snap-on 1/4-inch drive, snap-on 10mm socket, swivel socket, you can get, and you can pretty much eyeball it. You can see, if I get my camera there in the right spot, you can see that hole that I drilled is centered with that. And that wasn't hard to do. I mean, you know, you just push back on the cover and you've got to angle it a little bit. But I'm going to take a razor blade, clean this debris off, the excess rubber or plastic right here. I'm going to clean all that off. And then I'll be able to stick a rubber grommet right back there. So dirt and dust is still not going to get in there. That actually was a trick that I used on a Chevy Spectrum years ago when they wanted you to pull the engine to put a timing belt on it. And the job paid like 9 hours. I had it to where I could do that job in 1 hour and 45 minutes. So, yeah, you know, when I worked at the dealership, that's how you make money. You know, if it takes you 12 hours to do a 9-hour job, because you had to pull the motor and mess with exhaust bolts and all that happy stuff, you know, you take a 9-hour job and turn it into 12, you're not making any money in the dealership setting because you get paid strictly commission. But you take that 8-hour job, 9-hour job, and turn it into 1 hour and 45 minutes, less than 2-hour job, well, you still get paid 9 hours. So, yeah, you figure out some shortcuts, and it doesn't hurt a thing. You just put a rubber grommet right back in there to keep dust and dirt and debris out. And then the front one is still actually behind the cover. The cover's in the road. If I bring this down here, even with the cover, or even with the bolt hole, you can see that the cover's still in the road, but it's not a problem. I mean, you got so much give along here that you can just take and easily hold that out of the way long enough to get that bolt out of there. It's not really long. And then in my case, I also had the starter has an O-ring where it sets in that round boss up there. So mine was frozen there. Of course, it had a lot of water setting in it. So what I did, because I already had to pull the recoil start off of it, the pull start, I went on the other side and tapped on the shaft of the starter, not hard, with a rubber hammer, and it just came right out. So anyway, that's it for today. That's the shortcut. You take a small, I don't even know what size the hole saw was. I think it was like the third one from the smallest in my max set. But yeah, you can see right there, there's the hole I drilled. Without drilling that hole, you've got to remove all this other stuff. So, yeah, it just makes good sense to me. I mean, a grommet's like $1.20, $1.50 maybe. I keep them here, so that's not, for me, it's no big deal. Just grab one off the shelf and plug it in there and plug that hole. But stay tuned. I'll have some more as these repairs go. This lady's got lots of four-wheelers, and I do stuff all the time. Getting ready to send back that recoil start. We got a cheap one, and it's just no good. So anyway, like, comment below. And coming up next is going to be the Polaris Magnum 500. And this thing, as you can see, just in case you're interested, see all that slop right there. That's the tie rod ends. And then we've got slop coming this way as well, out from the bottom. I don't know if you can see it moving because the whole four-wheeler's moving. But anyway, ball joints are bad. Tie rod ends are bad. And that's not even why it was here. It was here because she said something about a squeaking noise. Well, that squeaking noise is, I don't know if I can get my finger in here and hold the phone and all that happy stuff, but see that shiny spot right there? This U-joint is actually shot. So we're going to put all three of them in. That one, and then at the other end of that shaft, that one I just showed you. And then we've also got the one that goes to the rear. While we're pulling this stuff off, we're going to go ahead and do all three of them. What else this needs, I don't know. But so we got that coming up next. After we get this thing going for. So like I said, like, comment below. Thanks for watching. Bye.